All right, let me go over here. Okay, let's see. Wait, what's going on here? Dude, are we live right now? It says we're live. I don't see it on the. Hold on. What the hell? Oh, okay, wait, there it goes. Oh, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Hey, do you see it live, bro? Just can you confirm for me? Do you
Yes.
see it? All right, man. Okay. All right. Welcome everyone. See, I already knew something was gonna fucking happen. Welcome everyone to episode 900. 900. This is episode 900 of the Black Brain Trust, Black Cultural Intelligence, Understanding Afrofuturism. And with me, I have my co-host, the nameless protagonist.
What's going on to the chat?
Os.
And the other instructor on the panel.
How you doing, brother?
No complaints, man. Just enjoying this extra time off, and hopefully my mic won't be disrespectful like last
Hey,
time.
what I gotta tell you, man, like they're being disrespectful at your workplace, bro. That's all I gotta say.
Man, seriously. You would think people would be able to follow simple instructions, but that appears to be the bane of the government. But I digress.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not what this live stream's about, right? But
Right.
yeah, for those of y'all that want to know why this had to get pushed back a couple times, man, we had some BS going on here. But before we get into tonight's subject matter, because this is actually going to be an open chat. We're gonna I'm gonna take a few minutes to preface some things. Nameless is gonna take a few minutes to preface some things. We'll drop the link and then we're gonna get it popping. But first and foremost, because again, it's been a minute since I've done this and I always forget. Can you guys press? Let's do uh if the sound is okie dokie. Okay. So I just want to, just get a confirmation here that sound's coming through on you guys' end. Music's not too high, too low. You let me know. How do I sound? How does he sound? It's been a while since we've done this. Dave, you gave me a one. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay. I think a one is okay. I think we can 420 D Raptor. You said, okay, got it. All right. We are good. All right. So, okay, Dave, one equals 420. Got it. All right. So, okay. So, understanding Afrofuturism. Um, if you guys checked out the Afrofuturism aesthetic live stream that we did, this is where we begun to scratch the surface on what does this look like as an applied um an applied modality, right? Like in real time, terraforming the environment, taking ideas and concepts, fusing it with technology of the now, right? And being involved in the development side of it in order to terraform our immediate environments into what it is that we see it to be in the future. So it's really a practice or an exercise in projection, so to speak. And the first live stream we did, we highlighted two individuals, right? We highlighted two individuals that wait, hold on a second. We highlighted two individuals that are actually doing this in real time. One was a brother that was using augmented reality on
Yeah, for the
uh,
graffiti art.
yeah, he was using augmented reality. Then we had another brother that was basically using the materials of the environment to basically make like some of the most energy efficient, unique, and like functional design with an art aesthetic to it. This is very futuristic stuff. And so that was just a scratching of the surface, nameless. We were just kind of throwing this out here and just giving examples of brothers doing it in real time, right?
For the most part. And I think the important part that we sort of tripped over on accident is the fact that part of this is just part of the modern motif of being in a developed first world country after World War II. So
Right.
we take a lot of these things for granted, not knowing sort of where they get their original inertia from. So I like looking back to some of the first Afrofuturists, and it made me consider the idea, what if we just talk about the concept from its origins? Because I think we'd be shocked to see how there's so much of a pattern that has taken place here in America, in the diaspora, and then even on the continent, how
Hmm.
these things all play out in different ways and they have timings that correlate with each other. But the
Hmm.
common modality is, as you shift from one technological means to another, this is something that automatically comes along with it.
Wait, sorry about that. Um, yeah, and with along with that, man, I do want to just bring up something here. Let me pull up StreamYard. The tab moved over this way, so let's do this, right? Uh, I do want to kind of highlight this right here. Where's the? Oh, here it is, right here. Okay, so when it comes to sort of like what undergirds this Afrofuturistic thought modality that we're going to dig into tonight, and again we're going to drop the link here in about 10-15 minutes, and we're just going to have a open dialogue about this. However, I do want to point out here the one of the key points here, um, in terms of what it is that we're looking at right here. This platform is a technocratic platform, right? We espouse technocratic thoughts and ideals. This is the fourth industrial age that we're in. I understand that there's a lot of political fray taking place right now, and sides are being taken, and red and blue and vote blue no matter who, and this and that. Um, however, um, what I have to establish and get on the record here, to further undergird this conversation, is that this particular platform here is technocratic in thought and ideals. Okay, I just want to point this out here. It does not say Democratic. It does not say Republican. It does not say conservative. It does not say liberal, neoliberal, progressive, you name it. It does not say it. It says technocratic thought and ideals. Technology, blockchain, cryptocurrency, AI automation. Hell, we can start throwing transhumanism and IoT. We can throw that all in there too. But that is actually fourth industrial, and fourth industrial is the future. Afrofuturism is as a thought modality or a concept or an idea. Where do we see ourselves in the future? And we have to look at this right here as the basis. So that was kind of like my sort of opening, kind of what I wanted to get out here, about what it is that me personally, myself personally, what it is that I wanted to reestablish, because this hasn't changed. This was written uh, April 20th, 2018. That was 4/20/2018, over 6 years ago. So nothing's changed, right? Nothing's changed here. But for the record, because I guess there is a little bit of a talk or a discussion here. What's going on here? Hold on one second here. There's a little bit of a talk or a discussion here about what is, you know, this platform about. Is it a democratic based platform? Is it this or is that? Is there no? There's individuals that are a part of uh, this platform that have ideals that are more aligned with, say, the Democratic Party, or a couple of the founding members are Republicans, right? That's why you don't see any sort of anything about a Republican or a Democrat. This is actually about a fourth industrial ideology. That's what this is actually about. People going to wrangle about policies and what have you. Have at it. But to be clear, to be clear, this is a future forward thinking platform. And that's what's undergirding this conversation. So I just wanted to go ahead and get that out. And Nameless, you got the floor, man. And then, after that, we can go ahead and drop the link.
I think it's important to understand that that was a big reason why I presented the idea of political Mandalorianism, to sort of depersonalize these things, not in an attempt to absolve oneself of personal accountability, but to have an orientation so that you can understand that these political means are tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that in the very first axiom. And it's an understanding where you've been that you can create a format of where you need to go. And that's something that I'm going to say has been left to us as individuals to figure out by and large. And I think we may not be giving ourselves enough credit as a people in general. And I don't just mean here, I mean the African diaspora in aggregate across the board. It doesn't matter when you left the continent and somewhere in the clauses, and then you left the continent and got here, however means that looks like. This has been playing in the background ever since we stepped off the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since we've been called Black, ever since there was a civil rights being written. These things are interwoven simultaneously with political action and policy and viewing oneself in the future. And it's in that context we get to some of the very first Afrofuturists, which could be ascribed to folks like Martin Delaney, Booker T. Washington, and Marcus Garvey. I highlight them primarily because what tends to happen is a technological revolution occurs, followed by some political upheaval. And when it comes to Afrofuturism, we share this interesting geographic relationship to a very specific part of the world. From between the latitudinal line of Cancer and the latitudinal line of Capricorn, the space in between these latitudinal lines, I call the Aboriginal Belt.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems as though every time there's a revolution, historically speaking, and I mean an industrial revolution, the bottleneck has always been resources. And when you take a look at the actual resource allocation as it pertains to this particular region, every place that engaged itself in colonization was short and required to outsource some location to acquire these resources.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at the Aboriginal Belt, I think the breakdown goes from within this region alone, approximately 30% of the world's reserve oil can be found there. 20% of the world's natural gas, 40% of coal, 60% of iron, bauxite, which is aluminum ore, is about 70%, and copper is at 40%. These are all critical bottleneck minerals that's required for your industrial revolution.
Your industrial shit. Yep.
And so what you found historically is that's gone hand in hand with colonialism or various forms of capitalism. When you correlate to when the Berlin Conference took place, that's exactly when the Industrial Revolution was meeting its height. I think it was 1892 to 1893.
Yeah, like when they were doing all the expositions and
drawing the lines and creating the sovereignty lines that exist to this day.
Yep.
So at the very minimum, in the context of that, that's not long after the Emancipation Proclamation hits, and we're in the middle of our own industrial movements over here in America. So we've got this rhyming scenario where here in America, we're dealing with the Reconstruction era. You have people like Tunis Campbell and all of them going through, and we have all of this representation in Congress and all branches of government, honestly. And we're trying to see what do we look like going forward.
Hmm.
We talked last time about having such a deep presence in the idea of factory industrialism and how even ideas like the assembly line were being worked on and all of these creators. I think Rael made it a point to highlight that one of the key nuances was the patent system, how we sort of got curbed access to a lot of these things and credit for a lot of these things through that means. The bottom line was we were still creating thoughts and ideas and concepts for the future and finding our place in it.
Right.
Same way that was taking place across the pond. Then we move forward with the civil rights movement. And this is beginning to take place around 1954 ish, post World War II. We've got all of this momentum. We have people pushing back against separate but equal doctrine, people pushing back against the racial covenant doctrine.
Hmm.
And at the same time, on the continent of Africa, there's the decolonization movement that's starting to happen. And inspired by people like Marcus Garvey, they're beginning to formulate what an independent Africa begins to look like, starting with the particular colony they may have been. And even though these two movements weren't exactly the same, they rhyme with each other. And it's in that same time period we start getting all of these Afrofuturistic ideologies.
Yep.
This is the primordial beginnings of things like funk and this whole psychedelic era that is a prelude into disco. Like music ends up being a massive way a lot of these things gets expressed. And
It's
you
one of the most. It's like, isn't that kind of like one of the most sort of like limbic type of subversive ways to do it? Is
oh
through,
yeah,
through sound and limerick. You know what I mean?
yeah, you had to bypass prefrontal cortex. You had to
Right.
bypass, that logical front. If for nothing else, so that it could bypass programming, but we have a theme where we've always needed to be codified with a lot of the things we do. So we had to learn to say it without saying it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes total sense, man. Um, I don't know. I mean, so wait, hold on. First of all, let me do this. I did. I knew I forgot something, dude. Welcome everyone. I forgot to welcome everyone, man. We
It's
just
all good.
nah. It's all yeah. That's just my dumbass. All right, let me see here. There we go. Boom, right there. So let me just pin that right there and welcome everyone in. Um, I mean, this is kind of where we find ourselves, right? See, so now in 2024, as you were just talking about something that bypasses the frontal cortex, and I would argue to say that that would be like, let's just say, hip hop slash modern day black culture that has managed to literally touch every part of the globe to the point where it was in the goddamn Olympics,
Olympics, yeah, with breakdancing. And
right?
that's the key though.
Mm-hmm.
Where I mentioned the Industrial Revolution, then introduced the post World War II television era.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're in the age of the fourth industrial revolution, and another expression of Afrofuturism is beginning to manifest. And it also has its own sort of political undertones that are associated with it. But for us, and the whole idea has always been this concept of liberation. And I think we kind of talked about this before, and I probably need to do a separate conversation on this. I have not misgivings with this word, but I'm noticing a dichotomy of thought
Mm-hmm.
where I don't invest so much in this idea of liberation and freedom. I'm far more concerned with autonomy.
Right.
And I think the vision of Afrofuturism really has these two sort of flavors.
Mm-hmm.
You can go the liberation freedom movement or the autonomous movement. And I think this is something that goes all the way back to the very beginnings of Afrofuturism. And I know Rael's been covering this with his series. It's the textbook Atlantic Address all over again.
Yep.
And it's all over Afrofuturism. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that begin to play out in the future. We saw portions of it with the Black Panther series, but then you can contrast to something like The Matrix.
I
You
mean,
know, they,
there's parallels to that, right? Because like when we watched like the first Black Panther movie, we saw like the sheer power that Wakanda possessed, right? The
mm,
technologies, right? The industry, and it was very insular,
mm,
right? However, we saw where there was a weakness, right? And when there's a what they say, a chink in the armor, so to speak. You know, this is where you run into issues, and I would argue to say that if one is to take, let's just say, history of antiquity and then move it forward, you see that there's this large global shift of power from the Orient to the Occident, i.e., the East to the West, and that's what you have now. And now what you have is a tussle for the East, i.e., the BRICS, to wrestle it back,
mm.
right? So this is just that tidal gravity pendulum swing, right? But if what I'm able to do is to vocalize that, and you're able to say, yeah, I see that, then what say you about what our position is, or what our play is in understanding that this is nothing but just simply a pendulum swing?
We have to remember people's sense of time. I think that overall, one of the downsides of the earlier industrial revolution was the overrepresentation of commercial ideology in the absence of family serving as a counterbalance.
Hmm.
And so, for the sake of expediency, many shortcuts were taken that I don't think people got to see the inevitable conclusion of what that leads to. It's sort of like what happens when someone lives on fast food. Like, quite literally, we'll use that as an example.
Oh God.
You It isn't that you lack the macronutrients. In many instances, you have more than enough calories than you've ever had historically, which used to be the problem. Many people suffered because of a lack of calorie intake in general.
Hmm.
It isn't even an issue with protein. It's not an issue with fats for damn sure. The problem is the micronutrition. And socially, people are no different. So if there are things that you would acquire that would provide context so that you can see the bigger picture, if you're not getting these things for the sake of expediency, whether it be because your household is too limited to actually offer the time for you to have that, or if because your society is so stable, almost any configuration can meet the definition of success, I think that people lose their bigger picture because their field of reference is less than 2 years in general. If it doesn't assist them in the immediate term of having X, Y, and Z, then I think people may not place as much value or a sense of agency or urgency on how these things are changing, and more importantly, how it affects them.
Right. I mean, okay, but are you saying that in a general sense, or like in the sense of, let's just say, like, um, and I'll be very specific, ADOS Black Americans, right?
I
Like,
think that the Black intellectual social complex is a metaphor for America overall. I think
oh shit. So
we're
you
the
talking about
most
a micro to the macro type of situation?
correct. What happens to us correlates to what's about to happen to the country. And I don't think there's been too much that hasn't been the case when you examine what's gone on with us and then what ultimately happens to the country. And
Isn't
then
that whole fucking like they get, what is it? They get the flu, we get pneumonia or some
it
shit.
was the canary in the coal mine analogy, followed by when everyone else gets the cold, we get the,
You get the
oh,
flu.
whenever, yeah, we get the flu or we get pneumonia
Said
and all that.
pneumonia, right?
Yeah. But, that's just because your culture serves as an immune system. And for us, we've got an autoimmune disorder. That's
Oof.
our problem.
Oof.
We're not weak
Oof.
at all. In fact,
No,
our strength is kind of the problem. We'd almost be better off if we were weaker, weirdly enough, but because we may be forced to
that
actually slow
ironically,
down.
that why does that make so much sense
It's look, fam, we've got some of the oldest X and Y chromosomes
on
recorded
the
in human
fucking
history,
planet? Yeah.
hyper concentrated in one region of the world, man. Like it's that means something. You just can't walk away from that. That has a gravitas to it that people can sense, including each other. And so
Hmm.
because we're so damn strong to be able to figure it out on our own, of course this could be an offset consequence. You know, we have to 1vx everybody, including each
Okay.
other.
Well, okay. So I mean, let's talk about that part of the equation, right? In terms of uh, Afrofuturistic thought and ideal, and how it relates to the greater, let's just say, diaspora, right? Like
Mm,
the general population of, say, melanated folks, right? I
mm.
mean, because like my notion or thought on this is that there's this is a balanced principle. It's not an elitist one. I mean, and I could understand why it is that, to an extent, why people would think that someone espousing something like this would come off as elitist. But I would
Well,
argue that it's actually sensible.
it's like it will scale to the level that you engage it at, which is why the idea of technocratic ideology, it's factional and
Hmm.
it's multifactional, not so much faceted, but factional. So
Faction, yes.
because they're tools, a tool can quite literally mean anything. And tools are nothing more than mediums of technology. And technology is something that human beings have interfaced with ever since we've had fire. And before that, you know,
Hmm.
even language, and this is my subjective opinion on it, by the way. You know, I'm not going to stick to some because the definition exists. That's important to kind of highlight. But me personally, I view language as a technology and it's something that's constantly cultivating. The key is what are you using it for and what is your end goal? And you get into things like ethics and morals and cultural expressions on how that should be disseminated and utilized. And the idea of technocracy will allude to that. If you want to be on some muhaha time in a dark room full of smoke with lightning flashing in the background, it'll let you do that. If you want to get on some cyberpunk dystopian era, controlling the population and turning them into a hive, you absolutely could do
You
that.
could do that.
But if you want to also turn around and do the complete inverse and create some sort of solar punk where people are living like you saw in Wakanda, the Aboriginal belt is the place to make that happen. You
Dude,
absolutely could do that.
wait, did you say solar punk?
I said solar punk.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah, when you get time, take a look at that. It's pretty interesting. I
Dude,
think you'd rock
no,
with it.
that already just, are you serious, dude? What?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
because dude, like
It's a
there's a,
whole thing.
no, it's a whole thing with Trip, dude. Like I was looking at some batteries. No bullshit, dude. Like this was last night. I was looking at some lithium phosphorus batteries for a certain scooter that I have, right?
Mm,
Because it comes with with like 4 lead acid packs that you have to then wire. You have to wire it up in an array and some shit, right? And so, like, a legit replacement for these is a lithium phosphorus. It's like half the weight, and you can get a few more amp hours for the same size pack.
mm.
And then they all have a little BMS, a battery management system in them. And then this one company I saw on Amazon that was making them, bro, they have like a whole solar and inverter kit that all sets up right into the shit. The BMS is talk to the whole inverter thing, and then there's a Bluetooth function. And I'm like, wait, this is like some shit right here. It's just like walking around with your own just sort of like power station.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? Like where you said solar punk, and it's just like, dude, no matter where you pull up, is it? Like I said, it popped up in my head. I'm like, dude, so no matter where you dip to, you just got power. You got a whole little situation and a setup. I don't know if you got like e-bikes, e-scooters, a fucking like little mini electric car or something, but then you have like this whole situation too, and it's like, huh, that's interesting, right? You know,
That's in the
so
context of micromobility for you. But
yeah.
there's also other commercial expressions of that. For
Oh,
example, that same thing can make it easier for electric car systems to have mm, better connected stations so that you can maintain your electric grid. I'm starting to think that they may have to do things like the energy costs for a lot of this, for example. Like if you wanted to get involved with trucking,
hmm,
they may have to do something for the highways to provide some sort of alternative charging methodology that makes it easier to drive, especially those larger vehicles because of the energy demand. You've got things like, I guess it's thorium is being
hmm,
researched, and I'm finding the major bottleneck with that is there's too much older things that have to get upgraded to roll it out. But getting back to Afrofuturism, if you're a third world country and you haven't had since World War II all of this diesel based, coal based infrastructure in place, or these nuclear models that were put in place in the 60s and 70s, because nobody wanted to invest like that. You were just a one-way extraction area, because that's what you were set up for.
right.
You can build with these things in mind from the very beginning. So you take something like thorium, which gives you something crazy like 4 times the efficiency than regular, I think it's uranium-based fusion, and like a tenth of the waste left over from that. You can use that to augment other natural energy sources, such as hydroelectric. You could take advantage of the wind turbines. You can more easily set down monorail across the freaking continent. And
Man, oh my God, dude, like there's this monorail train that I saw that was built back in like the late 1800s,
mm,
and it was like, dude, it had like a huge fucking gyroscope in it, and like it was just the way this thing operated, and I was
so it
just like,
just use its own kinetic energy to move?
yeah, it was like there
Wow.
was a gyroscope in the shit, and this is the back of the, it was like a basic what you could do is you know how there's like with train tracks, there's the two rails, right? And then there's
Mm.
like, like how
The third charge
cars,
rail or
right?
whatever?
You're right. Have cars have like, a set of wheels on each side or whatever, and then there's the electricity that goes through it. With this right here, dude, you could actually take two of these things and put one on one track and then like on the single track and then one on the other single track, and then they can go in two different directions on the same train track.
Mm.
So it was like you basically what you did was you doubled the efficiency of a traditional train track,
With a single, wow. Yeah.
right? By using like a monorail on one single track, and then it had like a very narrow design to it with a gyroscope that kept it upright.
Huh.
It's called a man. I gotta
Now I
find
know
this
they're
shit.
doing that with magnets now. They do that with electromagnetism at this point.
Electromagnets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's the one. That's the Wakanda shit. Um, somebody actually did an actual experiment based on the technology in the film, and it works. It's an actual magnetic propulsion track type of situation.
I want to say they've already have something
Yeah,
similar to that in Japan right now that's
yeah,
in use.
yeah,
And it goes something crazy, like
yeah,
damn near
yeah.
300 miles an hour or something ridiculous. So like
See,
you can travel 400 miles in like no time.
well, see,
So
and this is my thing. You see, so when we talk, and I'm throwing this in air quotes now, right? Futurism. Is
mm.
it future or is it now? Which one?
Well, that's all your perspective, because the thing about this is, again, the traditional bottlenecks for a lot of these things have always been resources. And what makes the fourth industrial revolution so interesting is I think for the first time, resources isn't the bottleneck. It won't be for the African diaspora, because all of the resources that you need, if you take a look at the Aboriginal belt, and that we'll extend this all the way across the planet,
Hmm.
So if you take a look at that, you're including the core portions of the Caribbean, the core portions of Central and South America. You're talking about a majority of Southeast Asia. We're talking about, and you can probably pull up an image of that. Go
Well, I
go.
was gonna say, what do you think about this right here? This is an image that we created back in 2019.
That's funny. You're already
So,
pinging
so
some of the areas I'm talking about.
well, that's why I wanted to bring it up. I thought I'm being a little Afrofuturistic, just I'm joking, but I'm serious in the sense of like this is sort of like the breakdown of how we see the globe,
Mm,
right? So, like, if you look at the bottom or look at the top, because what it is the consortium element is kind of like maybe say how we look at things from a Mandalorian standpoint,
okay.
right? A few, right? We're grouped together, but then we have the things that we do, right? There's international objectives, there's domestic objectives.
In other words, it's a decentralized idea that
Aha.
can come together to form clusters of efficiency to get things done.
Okay.
It's just like a contract, but it's part of a greater narrative,
Well,
which is
it's part of a,
right,
yeah, because that's how like NGOs and other shit operate, right? And then
right.
look at the bottom, how when we break down the territories, right?
Yeah, that's the
What say
constituency.
you? Yeah, what say you
That's
about that?
not only is that the constituency, we're already seeing that geopolitics is beginning to regionalize like this anyway.
Right.
And what I'm saying is ultimately with what we see in this fourth industrial revolution is the bottleneck for the Aboriginal belt is just going to be cultural.
Hmm.
For the first time, people are going to have to actually do business with these regions and actually sit down, make meaningful trade, make meaningful deals. And there's no big bad unilaterally acting police force to go in and say you're going to do this anyway.
Right.
I don't think there's any more independent actors anymore. We were the last ones.
I, ooh, I, ooh. Okay. You know what? Expound on that.
So we've gotten to a point now where the issue used to be also stacked on top of that a barrier of entry to assess a lot of these technologies. And I think in the future when we get into fourth industrial warfare, you'll see what I'm talking about. Fam, it really messed me up when I saw 3 drones that cost less than the cost of a missile. Less than the cost of a missile, fam.
Hmm.
Take out a destroyer.
And that,
I showed you the video, man, and it was 3 of them, and one of them was filming the whole thing on the side, just watching.
I mean, dude, when you look at those like those displays of like drones that'll do like they can like literally create like a moving animation or image in the sky, right?
Mm.
That's literally just giving you a peek into what drones have the ability to do, right?
Oh
All
yeah.
you gotta do is just program the shit. Um, and that's just one component to all of this, right? If we're and this is actually going to be a conversation that we're gonna have. What I guess on your channel, right? 4IR warfare.
Probably. I really
Oh
wanna
yeah,
do that topic
maybe.
justice because
Yeah,
what I need to do is make sure I don't say some things I'm not supposed to say
yeah, that's what I
in a
mean. I was like
public medium.
maybe. Yeah, yeah, maybe I don't know if that's right because I sent you the video about what was going on. Uh, with the exploding devices, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Shout out to
And
the pagers.
it,
Yeah, that was
and
crazy.
dude, it was just like, whoa, dude, is that what we're doing now? Like, I remember there's like a lyric. There's a group, this rap group, Nonfiction, and this cat Ill Bill. He says, "Blow off your wig with an exploding Motorola flip, leave you soaking wet like a hot tub." I forgot how the
Mm.
end of the lyric goes, but you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, he meant
Yeah,
he brought
little
the fun
tiny
to life
device
about
that
quote
explodes,
blowing up
right?
right,
Yeah,
blowing up people's pager, literally. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why I was just like, bro, peep that shit. Wow, dude.
but
So
the point I
yeah.
wanted to highlight with that is just simply it changed the bar of entry. So that costs essentially nothing. And the major producers of that, at least in mass, are coming from Egypt, Turkey, and China.
Hmm.
So, like, already out the gate, we're talking about just disposable plastics. Like, think about the cost of an actual missile. Some of these things, man, like even just some of the high caliber ammo for a minute worth of gunfire, it can be something crazy like $60 a bullet.
It's like literally like a lot of fucking money.
You see what I mean? And then you take again a drone that is amphibious, that can operate in the air, that can operate in the water, and you're taking down a destroyer with two. The first one breaches the hull, and then the second one makes it to where it's not going to make it back to port. And you still got a third one to videotape it and confirm it,
I mean, and the
just in
one,
case.
yeah, the other one gets the footy, right? It's just like, dude, this is like a whole different
You can't,
realm that we're in.
but that's not even the bigger danger. The bigger danger is who can then rush to get access to micro tech that can engage and control that. So now we're in the age of emissions warfare, hands down, which looks completely different than having to procure uranium, refine the uranium, and go through the very specific process that's required to come up with a weapon that has to be tactical in nature, or having the sophisticated ability to manipulate hydrogen to do the same thing, which is what the majority of our bigger uh, emissions do now. Like the amount of infrastructural support needed to produce a hydrogen weapon versus a freaking drone that cost a couple cents. You understand what
And
I'm saying?
well, yeah, I understand what you're saying because there was like this whole ruling about like DJI drones, and we'll have to get out of here in just a quick second, right? We're gonna really have to get out of here because there was a whole thing about that came out with DJI drones, and how I think like 90% of our government agencies actually use DJI drones that are Chinese produced, right?
Oh yeah.
So that was a very interesting discovery, and I think what they're going to try to do is prevent that from being the case going forward. However, guess what? We don't have a robust drone industry.
And that's where we're
Not,
back.
yeah,
Because the question was, well, elaborate on why there's no lone actors, and that's a big reason why.
right. So this is just like the new age that we're in, and and let's not make this like a thing where it's just all about like weaponry and stuff like that. It's not, because it's
Well,
also
no,
about
that's important because remember, death and taxes are the currency of a nation.
it is
So when you're looking at what that means for a nation to be able to defend itself, that was one of the main things I want to talk about or wanted to talk about with political Mandalorianism, the difference between diplomacy, negotiation, and then weaponized war by way of soft power.
right.
So by and large, these third world nations haven't been able to negotiate and actually engage in diplomacy. It's been various forms of soft power. This now is a game changer. If you know that you need to not burden yourself with a conflict internationally with somebody else because somebody will end up outproducing you. If you're a nation that has the raw resources that's required to do that, and you have the ability to defend yourself, you have to take war off the table if you want to try to
If
get
you
something.
want to,
Right.
exactly.
You've got
Yes,
to go to diplomacy and
yes.
negotiation, that's the game changer. That's why that's so important.
And I would argue, and just real quick, DE Raptor, you said you see why the US is so anxious about I do. I I do.
That's a good point.
I do. Um, you know, what was I wanted to tell off what you just said. Nameless, what did you just say?
Oh, I was just speaking about how if access to the capacity to push back and engage in smart power, which is essentially what that's going to look like, the
Mhm.
combination of hard power and soft power elements. If there's a measure of parity that can be established, then you're gonna have to go back to actual negotiation and diplomacy,
Okay,
not
now that was
nonviolent forms of war, which is what soft
nonviolent.
power was historically. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that was the point I wanted to kind of tail off on, right? So, isn't it as sublime as this may sound, right? But like technological apps like, Alibaba, AliExpress, WhatsApp, stuff like that. Doesn't that make that easier for those types of soft power transactions to happen? I know it sounds menial.
No, that's important. Actually, that's
Okay,
what
go ahead. Yeah,
Zuckerberg is
yeah,
being
yeah,
investigated for
yeah.
as we speak.
Hmm.
So a majority of this really got kicked off when the big data breach happened, and it
Hmm.
was being found out that all these shopping algorithms and all of this data from Facebook and whatnot, and people's buying patterns and all of that, and all kinds of data was being sold to third parties. It was the foundation of that information that enabled the potentiality for these things to get weaponized. And so
Hmm.
they've learned how to create algorithms that can target people's potentialities to where a lot of the technology you're using knows you better than you do, which is it's pretty jarring. And
Yeah,
what
I was gonna
that's
say, how the fuck does that happen, right?
that's quite literally what the objective of propaganda was, man. And all
Mhm.
of that is just more forms of soft power. So, absolutely, that is a form of potentially international influence. Like, if you look at what the Army Corps of PsyOps does, that's exactly it. Instead of dropping pamphlets from an airplane, they can just
They
go
just
on someone's social media
I was
algorithm.
gonna say, just troll a motherfucker.
It'll be an ad
It
somewhere.
could be like, yeah, it could be so sublime, right? It could be so sublime and so simple. It can even be something that just goes viral, for example, right?
Mm.
And because we understand viral as just something that I guess no one ever really thinks about that, right? Like, well, why did it go viral?
Well,
Why?
that
Why? Like there has to be some sort. You get what I mean?
yeah, Carl Jung kind of flirted with that idea for a little bit when he got into the idea of having social contagions. And he talks a bit more about that in the Red Book. Maybe
That's literally like a viral meme, dude. That's just another way of saying a viral meme.
he's talking about this in the 30s and 40s, man. So,
Yeah, I know.
like, this is nothing new at all. At all.
Right, right. No, it's not, dude.
Well, what
But
we're talking about is scale, thanks to the fourth industrial revolution. And I think that's really the key here. It's the scale at which you can reach things, and how what this essentially does is for the next 45 years, the individual is going to have a measure of autonomy that I don't think we've ever realized. But unfortunately, the majority of people may not even realize they have this
okay,
capacity. The thing is, governments will and do. And so, what I see happening is in a combination of ethics boards and various committees that will come together, a lot of these things are going to start being dialed back as far as people's general access to it. And it isn't so much so that you won't have the ability to do something. It's just that you will be observed and watched in ways that you never knew was possible.
I would argue that that's already been happening literally since like 4G technology, right? I think like once we got.
Well, the Patriot Act opened the gate for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like once that opened the gate, then the connectivity piece allowed for a higher concentration of, say, like devices to triangulate your whereabouts, and
Right.
all that other shit that devices do in terms of like data gathering and
But that's the argument for autocracy. So, like,
oh.
the point about autocracy is that it's just too much damn micromanaging. But then what do you do now when you've got smart cities and all these algorithms that can store all this data for you?
I mean, you just become. See, that's kind of like that's, and I'm glad you said that, dude, because this is where the Afrofuturism piece kind of comes to a head, where
Yep.
we now have to really define it ourselves, right? Because either you wield the shit, you're the developers, you're the implementers. Either you're doing that, or you're just basically in a user class type of situation where I guess maybe what the state is doing it.
I
And
think
I would imagine that that's gonna be like two different types
that's going to be the new
yeah.
capitalism versus socialism conversation, quite literally.
Hmm.
And what's important about that is the greatest leaps and bounds towards those directions are going to happen at the very beginning. So, for example, and this is yet another conversation to be had with things such as transhumanism.
Hmm.
What's stopping the insurance companies in the future when they introduce something like nanotech that can be a medium to address a lot of illnesses that you may be experiencing by way of aging? And I asked this question a while ago. You were here for that convo. I think
Hmm.
it's an important one. Do you think aging is a disease or something that is natural that should be left to its own devices? And what I find is a lot of people are very polarized on this topic and they just never really thought about it before.
Uh, I
There's some
mean,
people.
you know what? Go. No, finish that thought. Finish that thought. I'm sorry.
So what that would look like is the insurance companies in the future. Let's say you're an individual that was staunchly against that, whether it be for religious reasons or you're ideologically opposed to the concept of that, or maybe you just see it as being morally wrong because, these things are likely going to be subscription based. So what happens when you can't afford your subscription for your nano machines and you were dependent on it to help your liver function? Or there's all of these systematic
Okay,
dependencies that form that we can't
I see where
foresee.
you're going. I
And
see where
then
you're going.
so they tell you, all right, well, and it'll be a factual thing that individuals that use these nanomachines have a higher survival rate and they're less of an insurance risk. So now you've got to pay more for your insurance to have
Man,
it.
I gotta always go back to this flick. It's called uh Robot and Frank. I think that's the Frank and no Robot and Frank. I think that's the term. It's either Robot and Frank or Frank and Robot, but I want to say it's Robot and Frank. It
Mm.
came out in 2012. Speaking of futurism, I think this is like one of the most accurate depictions of what you're talking about, but I don't know if it's going to be nano. Here's what happened in this film, dude. So the film takes place in like 20 like 32 or some shit. Like 20, it wasn't like 2028, it was like 2032. Shit looked a little too futuristic to be in the 2020s. So I want to say it was like maybe 2032. So shit still kind of looked like how you see it today. However, like the Audis that they were driving around in the movie looked just a little way more sophisticated than you see now, right?
Mm.
And there was this family, and what they did was they went to this company and they got this robot to basically kind of be like his their father, like the grandfather of the family, right? So they think he's senile and he needs like an assistant, right? He needs like a robot to basically help him with shit because they think he's senile. Now, the problem with this dude is that he's a career cat burglar, so you never know when he's lying, when he's talking, if he's saying something crazy or something like that, because he may be just trying to swindle you out of some shit, right? So, but the whole point is that they had an actual bot that had the AGI level to essentially be sort of like the caregiver to this guy. And I think that that is what is maybe like in the 2040s or 2050s we start talking nano, or I don't know. I'm
I
just
want you to take a look at the chat real quick because this is part of what I mean. Like
what's in
we
the chat.
people, well, the private chat,
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
yeah, the back
You
chat, yeah,
want me to open this up?
yeah. Go ahead and take a look, fam,
Okay, okay, all
because
right.
the audience may want to see it too.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
no, that's
just
what I'm
to
saying.
iterate just to iterate the point. And I want you to peep the date.
All right,
This
let's
stuff
see.
is not like down the line, like it's actually here already.
July 2024. You everybody see it? Wait, hold on. Let me get rid of that. Okay, you see that right there? Nanobot with hidden weapons. Get the what? Nanobot with hidden weapon kills cancer cells. Summary: researchers have developed nano robots that kill cancer cells in mice. The robot's weapon is hidden in a nanostructure and is exposed only in the tumor microenvironment, sparing healthy cells. So they pull up on the tumor and they just be like, "Break yourself, fool!"
Targeted medicine application is one
Holy
of the most
shit! Okay,
anticipated modalities for nanomachines that they've been working on since forever. What I'm
listen.
saying is this,
Wow.
and it's more than just that. There's several. I can show you so many things that are being worked on that aren't being talked about. Fam, do you understand the kind of gates that have been opened up just with the
I
Cas9
do.
system? So like when you combine that, and these are all things I was talking about with transhumanism. I think that conversation I had with Dr. Nicole Ali was almost 3 years ago now. I really got to reach
Yeah,
out to
shout
her
out
and
to
have
her, man.
another
That's
one.
the first lady of the Brain Trust. For those of y'all that don't know, shout out to
Man,
Miss Nicole Ali.
I I can't iterate how close these things, well, not even close. For the majority of these things are already here. The only thing that these groups and institutions are waiting on is just the green light from politicians to apply some sort of regulation to this.
Oh, okay.
There's
Wait,
just no
wait.
regulation.
God, wait a minute though. See, I have a feeling, right? Coming in, see, this is the reason why I had to kind of maybe talk about that political thing for just a second,
Mm,
starting out, right?
mm.
Because I haven't heard anybody talking about the fact that Trump was at a cryptocurrency conference a few weeks ago, and there's all these conversations about like this type of 4IR type of shit,
Yep.
digitization of things, and right, and everybody's like focused on petty fucking politics, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, these guys are talking like some next level shit here. I didn't know if you guys knew that about him. That the Bitcoin conferences that went on just a few weeks ago, and um,
Fam, who's
even
this VP?
I think
Who's
the
this VP?
Kamala
Who's this VP?
JD Vance,
Okay,
he's
so
connected with the guys.
yeah,
Um,
he's part of that
he's part of
PayPal
the
circle.
PayPal mafia.
So
For those that don't know that, by the way,
yeah. So
right?
that's my point I'm making, fam.
Yes,
Like these
yes,
moves, that's why I said the technocracy is multifactional.
it is very much so. And you know what? And it's multi-industrial.
That's what I
Like
mean, man. Like
meaning
it,
like there's so many segments and sectors.
the term for that is interdisciplinary.
Yes.
So it and this is why it's so important. It's so interconnected that making an advancement in just one of the many branches actually scales the others because there's some measure of interplay and interconnectivity that ties into all of them that can make it that much more efficiency. Because you know where nanotech is going to be introduced first, as you're seeing now, medical
And
applications.
medical
But
application.
but you know what that will actually mean in the very near future as a result of that? Being
What?
able to repurpose cellular material to 3D print things.
Oh well, wait a minute. I mean, if I recall, like some years back, they were literally. I think what they tried to do was do it the inverse way. Try to. Okay, they took the. How do I say? Okay, instead of doing it from the inside out, they did the outside in. So they were trying to print flesh. Does that make sense? Or they were trying to print. Uh, they're trying to
Live
print.
tissues, right.
Yeah. Whereas
They
I
were
think,
starting with muscle fibers.
yeah, muscle fibers. Whereas I think if you do it in the other, where you have some machines that just kind of do it from the inside out, I think, and I'm not somebody who knows this shit, so I'm just kind of presupposing, right? Because I know they tried it the other way, to have the larger external machine print the shit.
Well, don't think so much in terms of medical.
Hmm.
Think in terms of industrial. What do you do when you've got nanomachines that can repurpose coal into other carbon-based materials? Do you understand what I'm trying to present to
Hmm.
you?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's like being able to mass produce certain structures, which just it's so efficient when you can have something like a quantum computer keep track and give direction to these things by way of a signal.
I mean, and that's I think, and see, and and see when you say shit like that, um, you know, there's a few questions I guess that can kind of ruminate through the average person's mind, right? Um, one is, so wow, what do these possibilities really mean? And then I guess the other question could be, so what does this mean for me and my whole fucking existence, right?
It
You
means
know?
the end of that's what I meant by my earlier statement about how
Mhm.
the individual is potentially so empowered by this that the whole name of the game for the next 45 years is finding out the degree to which they're going to try to dial these things back. Like DE Raptor said in the chat earlier, fam, I really mean it.
Yep,
Most of these things are already here. They're
yep.
just waiting on guidance and regulation from federal governments. And part of the part of the technocratic class currently, because it looks like again there's so many different factions. There's some people who
There's
are
a
on
lot.
this kind of muhaha type of time, but then there's others that are whistleblowers that are like, nah, we can't have this go out there like that because it's literally not only going to destabilize opponents, but it could destabilize
It
us
can
to the point where
destabilize it.
you see what I'm
Oh
saying?
my god, dude, there's a oh my god. Um, and I'm gonna have to just quickly. I think I gotta use the restroom. But dude, there was okay. There's an anime called Dimension W. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but I can look it up. How old is
Dude,
it? Is it a 80s or 90s?
no, dude, it's like 2000. It's like 2010s. So check this out, right? Um, there were like these things called Tesla coils that were created,
It
obviously,
looks like an RPG. I'm looking at it now.
but it's actually an
Wait,
anime.
okay, it's on Crunchyroll. I'll save that and look at it
Yeah,
later.
it's an anime, bro. And so the whole thing about this was that there was there was like these Tesla coils that they called them that were created, right? And what they did was these coils have the ability to draw energy from what they call dimension W. Okay. And so and like dimension W is basically like the realm where like it's just like unbridled fucking energy. It's just like just pull it in. You got it, right? And so the original person who did this or who created these Tesla coils, he created the original ones that can tap into dimension W. Then he created another version that was like it pulled from it, but not quite like the other ones. And you know those could be further regulated. And so what ended up happening was that much like how Rudolph Diesel, the dude who created the diesel engine, was kind of taken out, and then right Bosch and that whole German conglomerate uh, basically took the whole sort of took the whole diesel invention thing, and then you have what you have today in terms of like your whole diesel engine infrastructure.
Hmm.
Yeah, you have diesel electric, steam diesel. You had every variation of it, right? Diesel is that portable in a sense of you can just basically use it because number one, you can power it with fucking used vegetable oil if you needed to. Okay. And then you can use it to create electricity. You can use it to create a whole bunch of, do different things with it. And this was kind of like the same idea with this whole Dimension W thing. But the person who created it was taken out. But before he was taken out, they hid a few of those coils, and then some shadowy group got some of those coils, and then they wanted to get the rest of them because if they can get the rest of them, then they could essentially just run the whole fucking planetary grid system off of those coils as like some sort of energy cartel type shit. It's a crazy fucking anime. I just got to tell you.
It actually sounds a lot like this. This just came out a few days ago. Let me copy this. Da-da-da-da.
She said, "Wait, it prevents the damaged cell to replicate." Uh, yeah, Jackie. I think you're referencing what that article was saying about the nanobots that go and attacked the tumors. I put the link to the article in there, but in a nutshell, yeah, that's essentially what it was saying. It literally just goes to the tumor with a weapon and goes die, die, die. Okay, let me open this up right here. Hold on one second.
My bad. This one's behind a paywall,
Is
but
it
the title will
okay?
tell you everything that you need.
Okay, well here, let me just for
And this
just
came
the
out
sake,
today. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, for the sake of the live stream, let me just go ahead and post it so people have the link. If they want to pay for it, they can. But it's right here. If you want to go ahead and give people a quick brief on what that is.
Yeah, they are harnessing power from the stratosphere. That's the long and short of it. You were talking about Dimension W. I mean, that's
Yes,
a substrate of energy
that's
in time
basically,
space.
there you go.
And you were talking about that anime came out a while ago. This came out today. They were talking about that earlier. So it reminded me of that
Let me-
when you mentioned it.
yeah, let me find it, dude. Let me find it. Hold on.
I've already pulled it up.
Did
It's
you
it's on
you
Crunchyroll
send me the link and I'll pull it up. Just put it
for
in the
the
back
anime.
chat. Yeah. Whatever
I
link you
gotcha.
got, and I'll pull it up.
Well, you gotta have a Crunchyroll account to see it, but I'll link it. Let's see.
Crunchyroll. I remember that shit, dude. Probably used to have one.
I mean, you can
Hold on.
download the app anywhere.
Let me do this. Maybe I'll just do. Let's see. Maybe there's a wiki.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
that's.
have a subscription to see it.
Yeah, no. I'll pull the wiki. I'm gonna pull the wiki up, dude. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. So this is for those of y'all that what I was just telling you about right here. Dimension W is a Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Yuji Iwahara. It was published in Square Enix's Seinen manga magazine Young Gangen. I can't, dude. You're better than You're better at Japanese than I am. From September 2011 to November 2015. So that's what I was telling you during the 2010s.
Oh, that name is Iwahara.
Okay.
Iwahara.
Yeah. You're way better than I am, bro. Okay, let's go to the synopsis. Okay, check it out. This is near future. Remember, I was just telling you about, and I'll show you guys. I'll bring up some shit on Frank and Robot. But check this out. 2036, nameless. That's just what, a scant 12 years away. 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So in
Yeah.
the year 2036, a fourth dimensional axis called Dimension W is proven to exist. Cross-dimensional electromagnetic induction devices known
So
as
let's
coils.
pause. What
Go
they're
ahead.
talking about by definition then is time space.
Okay. All right. So let's do that.
So,
Cross.
well, what I mean
Okay.
is the article we just linked is doing exactly that, fam.
Yeah. That's why I want to read this shit, bro. Because look, I had to correlate the fucking year, dude. It's 2036. This stuff is not coincidental, dude. Like, don't spare me with the coincidence bullshit, right? So look, no, known as coils, magnetic induction devices known as coils were developed to draw out the inexhaustible supply of energy that exists in Dimension W. New Tesla Energy and governments built 60 giant towers around the world in the pattern of a truncated icosahedron. A
Click
truncated.
on that so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, there
There
you
you
go.
go. You guys see that right there? It's like a What was that? Do you remember like a fucking There was like a toy from the 80s that was one of these, and
I know exactly what you're
you
talking
put
about. And
some
they had
shit
different
in it or
colors and
something.
stuff.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was different colors. Do you remember that? Okay.
Yeah, but those are
Mhm.
those are used a lot in various occult modalities. Like in
It also
metaphysics,
is a
it's very
soccer
common.
ball. It's also a soccer ball. That's exactly what it is. It may be regarded as footballs that are typically patterned with white hexagons and black pentagons. It's actually a fucking soccer ball.
Mm.
Okay. So, to stabilize the energy from Dimension W and supply power to the entire world. This world system is nearing its 10th year of operation as the story begins in 2072, and coils of various sizes provide remote electrical power to everything from cell phones to vehicles and robots. Okay, the Green New Deal, never mind. However, dangerous unregistered coils. Okay, this is what I was talking about right here. Okay. Dangerous unregistered coils that do not send information back to New Tesla Energy are being used for illicit purposes. Bounty hunters, known as collectors, the main characters of this anime, they're collectors, um, are tasked with confiscating the illegal coils. Among the collectors is Kyoyuma Mabuchi.
Kuma Mabuchi.
Okay, you got it better than me, bro.
I'll just help you out, fam. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah. A coil-hating loner who one day stumbles upon Mira Urazaki. Did I say that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yurizaki.
Okay. The gynoid daughter of New Tesla Energy's ailing intellectual founder. A gynoid. A gynoid or a fembot is a feminine humanoid robot. Gynoids appear widely in science fiction, film, and art. As more realistic humanoid robot design becomes technologically possible, they are also emerging in real life robot design. Just like any other robot, the main parts of a gynoid include sensors, actuators, and you know the rest. Okay. When her father disappears while activating an experimental double ring coil, Mira decides to join a reluctant Kyuma, as you say, and
Kyoma.
follow, yeah, and follow the illegal coils in the process, discovering shady business involving New Tesla Energy themselves. All right, there you go. So this is a manga, literally talking about the type of shit you hear people arguing about in politics today, corruption and all that other crap.
Well, the human nature element hasn't changed and it won't change. And when you understand that being the fact, you begin to understand the importance of autonomy and being involved with understanding what's on the way, because
Mhm.
decisions that you don't get to make consciously for yourself are and will continue to be made for you as a result. And I think that's the nature of why a lot of these things are important and the volatile nature of the fourth industrial revolution, because what you don't pay attention to, other people are. And for the first time, the playing field is leveled in such a way that not only is the bar access to entry much lower, but
Mhm.
the places that will benefit the most from that are right there on that Aboriginal belt.
Yeah.
If for no other reason beyond the obvious, which is the resources, the fact that it gets to start with already established, upgraded technology. It doesn't have to retrofit and support current existing modalities that are cost inefficient because they have to hybridize and then go to the new. Third world countries within the Aboriginal belt can just go straight to the new
Mhm.
and build with future scaling in mind, which that makes all the difference, especially in a fourth industrial revolution
Sell to your
environment.
customers anywhere
Right.
with Shopify,
Hold
the
on one
commerce
second.
platform designed for
Oops.
entrepreneurs.
The little commercial joint just popped up there. I do have the wait, hold on a second. What the hell? Okay, wait, it's another joint going on there. Um I have also the Franken robot, right? This is what I also wanted to bring up here because bots is a thing, right? Bots are a total they're totally a thing. And in terms of like outside of like the micro or the nano aspect of it, right? You have the what is it, the Optimus bot, right? That Tesla's doing. You know, dude, I have some videos on my own personal channel of a pool bot that I have, right? Um, I got contacted by a company about lawn and yard bots. Bots, right? These are gonna be like not on the nano side, but these are just machines that are gonna be just around you and prevalent and all that, right? They are about to not go anywhere. You know what I mean? So uh on the futuristic side of things, I literally do see bots being a thing because I have one. I literally have a
Well,
go ahead.
they're no different than than all the other modalities. Like
Hmm.
you look at places that are suffering from demographic shift. So much older population, more people retiring than working, and people being forced to retire because governments used people's retirement to
Oh
deal
shit.
with the World Bank.
Oh god.
What you're going to have now are deficits in certain positions. And so,
Oh god.
especially elder care is going to be huge. Robots are about to really
Oh
take
my
front and
god.
center in specific industries such as that. I think
Uh,
it's already obvious the effect that that's having with automation. And
oh,
we mentioned the interdependence factor of a lot of that stuff. A lot of these robots are going to have different modalities. So you've got the
yes.
robotics that are streamlined to perform a specific task. Then you've got the more independent robots that are serving as quasi-human or serving in quasi-human
Yeah. Caretaker,
service
for
roles,
example.
right? Or in a more likely scenario for the average person, seeing and interfacing with robots while you're at a restaurant, like that's
Okay, with that there,
beyond
dude,
common.
that's that shit, right? That's the shit that's actually being rolled out right now, like the restaurant bot type of
Right, that's
thing.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that's that, and I would even say that even though I think it would kind of like at first sight you're like, what the fuck? I think that that's probably one of the most easiest sublime ways outside of the delivery bots, right? Which people just, you know, they troll by kicking the shit out of them, kicking them over, and ruining shit. So delivery bots are kind of like, that's sort of like a novelty. But let's just say you go into a restaurant and there is a bot that literally brings you your shit. I think um after maybe like the second or third time the novelty will wear off. It's no different than when if you go into a fast food restaurant now and the people that are working in the back, they go, hey, can you just use that giant tablet? You know, and after a while you just know that when you're going to go in there you're going to use the tablet, right? So
Well, take
then
a look.
mhm,
It's Gen Alpha growing up seeing that's
yeah,
just going to be routine and expected.
right, yeah,
So it's the
yeah,
transitionary period that part of it, that's why it's stalling. But I think when Gen Z takes over fully in 2045,
mhm.
this is just going to be the norm.
Well, let's look at this, right? Let's check this out real quick, dude, and then I'm gonna step away for a quick second, dude. But check it out, right? So Frank and Robot, this is the plot. This is a movie that came out in 2012. American science fiction comedy drama. Okay. The plot set in the near future, aging ex convict and thief Frank Weld lives alone and suffers from increasingly severe mental deterioration and dementia. Frank's son, Hunter, an attorney with a family of his own, grows tired of making weekly visits to his father's home without his kids, but is reluctant to put his father into full time care, so he purchases a robot companion, which is programmed to provide Frank with therapeutic care including a fixed daily routine and cognition enhancing activities like gardening. You see that?
Fam, did you see that movie Her?
Nah.
Oh man. Whoa, 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 whoa,
What?
whoa, whoa.
No,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, yeah. We'll have a separate conversation on that. In fact, that'll be a good topic for your sapiosexual segment.
Okay, you're gonna have to put me up on that one deaf, dude.
In a nutshell, dating AI.
Oh my god.
Oh
Really?
yeah. Oh
I've
yeah.
been seeing some
Oh yeah.
shit like about like having, stupid like have a little AI girlfriend, boyfriend, or something. But I'm like, okay, what? That's just like
No, it's already happened.
that's
And
like a fucking
well, wait,
what
wait, wait. No, fam, it's already happened.
what
So, oh, fam, you don't know about replicant? We're gonna have to have that conversation
replicant?
later.
That
Yeah,
sounds familiar. No, that sounds familiar.
it made the news. That's why. But
Replicant. What the fuck? That sounds familiar.
yeah, we got to talk about her and replicant in the very near future because this is if you're surprised on that, yeah, I got some shit for you, fam. Excuse the
Nah.
language.
Yeah, well, dude, this is her is crazy. Dude, like, you know me, dude. I'm all like, I'm
I think
stupid.
Scarlett Johansson was in that movie and played. Yeah. And there's a couple other ones where, they've got full on robots that have facilities and all of that being made and people dating them and all of that. And man,
What?
listen, we'll talk about that later. But
Yeah.
this was all that 2015, this was the period just before COVID where a lot of this stuff was coming out.
Okay, you know what,
Just
dude?
before
I'm gonna
COVID.
keep it real, dude. Like around that time, dude, that was dude, 2015, literally January 5th, 2015. That was when my wife passed away.
Yeah.
So between like 2015 and shit, I like watching movies with my kiddo, just sitting down like maybe like 2019. So anything in between like 2015 and 2019 movie wise, I probably missed it. So if it was around that time, dude, I probably missed. I didn't even heard of that shit. Her?
Yep. Yeah, you can see it on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it
All
on
right.
YouTube. Yeah,
Well,
but
check this
well,
out. D Raptor says one of the problems with our society is that technology is brought in based on profits rather than need.
yeah, we covered that earlier in the beginning when we talked about the bigger issues with commoditization running so much of the industrial models going forward and the industrial revolutions, both of them so far, all three technically, and including this fourth one. But just due to that bar of entry being so low with the fourth industrial revolution, certain factions within the technocratic class have been really going out of their way to make a lot of these real disruptive technologies open source and available and trying to stay away from tiered based access and subscription based access and make it more
That
freely
whole
available.
fucking
Yeah.
that whole like you'll own nothing and be happy shit.
Well, not even that, just something simple like what if they put access to things like Gemini behind $100 paywall? They could if they wanted to. And then
I mean,
what does that do for people who have access and who can't?
I think. Well, I think you have a open culture. Yeah, I'm sorry, a open source culture component to everything, right? And then you also have the global side of things, right? You see, so there's a multitude of ways to actually get access to things. I think that's another part of sort of like say this futuristic side of being in terms of Afrofuturism, right? Nothing is actually outside of your grasp.
That's true. But my point I'm making here
Mm,
is not in the exception, which I'm placing that firmly in. For
mhm.
example, there are ways of getting a PDF if you want it and you don't feel like paying for it. There are ways to get
Yeah,
access
yeah,
to it,
that's true. Yeah.
but the masses are not going to have access to that or gravitate towards there because the cognitive budget isn't there to make that happen. When you make it free, available, and convenient, that changes things. So what I'm saying is there's definite pushback to put these technologies and tier it predicated on your economic access. But then there's others who say, nah, F that. This needs to be available for everybody. This is too disruptive and transformatory. This needs
Well,
to
I
serve
mean
humanity.
but see, I mean that's and I'm not arguing one side or the other, right? But see the idea behind what you just said is that well, if you don't put it out there, then you're literally going to just be a slave to the technocracy, right?
Right.
Right. So
Right.
now you have nothing to go against it. bare minimum, if you have like an open source environment, you have
Now you
GitHub,
have a chance. Now you
you
have a
have some
chance.
fucking working
But
chance.
that's what I
You know what
mean
I mean?
about that's what I mean about the multifactional nature of these things. There are
Right,
factions
right.
that truly believe in one, and there are others that have come along recently that are like, nah, F that. You can't do that to people.
Well, you got honestly, dude. I think this is where the Mandalorianism piece comes into play. Gotta understand where you benefit from both, I guess. Right?
That's their modalities at the end of the day.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. They don't necessarily, especially if we're talking about application, right? Like
But
you can use like a subscription based model for one thing and an open source solution for something else,
what
right?
I'm what I mean to highlight here
Hmm.
is to get into the antithesis and synthesis, you have to establish what the thesis is first. So if you don't have a basis of understanding of what things are in general, you can't shift to exceptions so that you can take advantage of timing,
Well,
which goes
no,
back to the point I was
that's
making.
yeah, no, that's some, I mean, maybe I'm just kind of talking from like, what it is that I do on a day to day, right? Like
Right, 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 right,
yeah,
right,
you know
right.
what I'm saying? I
Right.
can
I
use,
wanted to orient this to
yeah,
the aggregate conversation so that we can see why you would then want to do some of the things you're
right,
talking about,
right,
so we don't lose anybody in the playback.
right. We probably already did. On my bad, dude.
It's all good, man.
Wait,
It's all good.
okay, I don't know how to say this person's name, but Ghost
Black
in the Shell
Panther.
Solid State Society
Black
was
Panther.
Black Panther. Okay, well, there you go. All right. Ghost in the Shell Solid State Society was also essential viewing. I got 100% agree. I got 100% agree. I love that series.
I think it's got one of the best well-rounded
I mean,
cast of characters I've seen in an
yeah,
extremely
it's just
long time.
written so well, dude.
All of them are cool as hell. I'm
Yeah.
not like, you can watch the show and not really even pay attention to Makoto. Like, she's there, she's a badass, but
I
like
mean, there's just so much. There's so much other.
everybody,
What was that laughing? What was the laughing? The. Do you remember what was it called? The smiling face, or the laughing something. I'm trying to remember that shit. It was a virus, right? That was put into the neural network, and it was doing like these targeted attacks and shit. I gotta remember which
it's been a
episode.
while since I saw that.
Yeah, it's been a while too, but I gotta tell you, I mean, Ghost in the Shell to me is still like, it's still tops for me, right? There's Ghost in the Shell, Cowboy Bebop, Space Dandy. Have you guys ever? I don't know if you guys ever seen Space Dandy is a mind fuck. I gotta tell you, every episode is different. And when I say it's different, I mean completely different. It is a mind fuck every time you watch it. Space Dandy is one of the illest animes. There you go. Not to get off in the anime shit, but since we were
No, it's
talking
all
about
good.
it, but
Yeah, it's on
I
Crunchyroll too. But fam,
yeah.
my time
I
is
know you got to
yeah.
run. No. I know you got to run. We're coming up on an hour and 30 minutes, literally. So let's get the final words in, man. I want to be mindful of your time, bro.
Oh, it's all good. Today, again, we just wanted to sort of touch bases and give people a bit of a primer on the what, where, when, why, and how, and understand that futurism and the industrial revolutions and political orientation all have this interesting interplay with each other, and they aren't
Yeah.
necessarily polarized in a left or right or conservative liberal sort of context. It's just simply, where do you envision yourself based off where you've been, and how can these new tools that are being provided for you by way of technology assist you in getting there, and what does it look like for you? I think it's
Okay.
very important to take advantage of the fact that we're associated with the Aboriginal belt. And what makes the fourth industrial revolution so unique, once again, is the fact that historically, resources have been the traditional bottleneck for industrial revolutions. And for the first time, since the bar is so much lower now, places in the third world will now have access and can build and prepare itself for the future and future scaling. Meaning that if there was ever a time to make a lot of these ideas possible, it's now.
Now, and see that's where you know, I think that's just kind of like where I really want to kind of like drive this reality, you know, through, well, I don't want to say through people's heads, but we are legit here. I mean, like some of the shit that we are reading on the wikis with these animes and these movies and stuff is actually real time technology right now, right? See, so it's not a stretch. You know, I think true Afrofuturism is an application. So once again, dude, the first live stream we did regarding this, we showed people that were doing like literally real time application of it, right?
Mm.
So even the things that we just talked about in this live stream this evening, these are we're talking about a real application component to all of this. As crazy as it sounded, but it's not that crazy, and that's the whole point. I mean, um, you know, when we were talking, you know, when you mentioned like sort of like the whole political thing, I would say that if there was some sort of modern day term to, let's just say, represent, say, the Afrofuturists or the political Mandalorianists, mil- the political Mandalorian, as or you know, there's sort of like the memification term, and then, but it would be an independent essentially.
Mm.
It would
The
be an independent.
key the
Yeah, but
keys there are autonomy, man,
that's
and
the whole point.
understanding the
Yes,
ability on how to navigate multiple environments
exactly.
socio-politically and performing as a global citizen and seeing yourself in the bigger picture.
Right.
Because quite honestly, in the next 150 years, so long as there's no catastrophic slowdown, man, they're going to master quantum entanglement. And you may start seeing people quantum entangle themselves with various technology in very remote locations. So it won't be unusual for people to link up to some sort of terminal that's
Hmm.
highlighted and connected through entanglement on some place in the moon, and you're doing mining work there or some sort of administrative work or function. Like human beings may find themselves on not just Mars, but places in the asteroid belt, moons on some of the bigger planets like Jupiter and Saturn. I mean, there are resources out there that they've already been able to scope out, and it would
You
be
know,
kind of weird to think that that wouldn't be a thing. But go
well,
ahead,
no,
fam.
nameless. You know, it's funny, dude, because I remember Mike V maybe like about 3 or 4 years ago. He did a live stream on asteroid mining, and everybody thought he was fucking crazy.
Nah, they've already got plans for that, fam. Starting with
That's
the
why,
moon,
like,
like
thank
it's
you
not
for
even a
saying that.
joke.
You just
Yeah.
vindicated Mike V, because I remember we did a live stream on that shit. I remember I took my daughter to practice, and then I just kind of went off over to the side where you know you couldn't hear cheerleaders going, and we were literally talking about like steam powered fucking satellites and asteroid mining. And dude, like like people like literally railed Mike for this shit, and I was just like, "What are you talking about? Like they mine every fucking thing else for every mineral they can find. Like why wouldn't they mine a goddamn asteroid?"
Fam, they got startups already for it.
Look, here you go, Jackie. She said she remembers it.
They've got startups for this. I mean, like they've been talking about this all year. Let me give you a Forbes article on this stuff,
All
man.
right,
Like,
just go ahead and post that.
and
You
then I'll
already
go ahead
did.
and bounce.
Jerron's trying to get a hold of me. Okay, let me see if I still got his number. Okay, I'll hit him up. Here it is, right here. Okay, hold on. Let me just get that, and I'll post this. And then I know you got to run, bro. So we'll go ahead and shut it down. We'll get the last comments in. We didn't have anybody join us, dude. What the hell? I thought we were gonna do an open chat. Nobody came up.
It's no biggie, fam.
Yeah, I know.
They'll have this for the playback in the future.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and let you get your last words in, bro. 'Cause I want to be mindful of your time, man.
Oh, but yeah, that was it, man. We've done it before. You've got
Mhm.
Delaney, Booker T, and Garvey as examples for the first industrial revolution. They were all over that. They were all over
They're
Afrofuturism,
all over it,
all over
right?
it. You go
And
get the
we're
book, The Thoughts and Opinions on Marcus Garvey, and he's railing on these topics over and over and over again. Science, technology, science, technology. He points to Japan as an example. He goes, if the Japanese can do it, then we can too. In fact, a lot of the things that they did to make that happen, they borrowed from his mentor, who was Booker T.
Booker
So,
T,
I mean,
right? And I'll just for full disclosure, distant relative of mine, by the way. Yeah, I'll just leave that right there. So just so you know, man, because I would say that it was my grandmother that put it in my head that you bet not fail. So this is what has us here, man, having these conversations. But let's see here. Let's do this. We need to go through real quick, just acknowledge some people, man. We had Dave Tao popped up. Welcome and salute DE Raptor, right? One of the elder statesmen of the Brain Trust. Want to give you a shout out. Wheelman's Journal. I've never seen you here, but that's what's up, man. Welcome, dude. You had some stuff to say in the chat, so I appreciate you pulling up. We had some troll, but he's gone. Senku, what's going on, man? Ishigashi, what's going on, man? Welcome. JBA, what's going on? Black Panther. That's what you notified me. That's what that meant. So salute to you. Welcome. Jackie, Nick Kenobi, as always, a pleasure having you here. Welcome. Let's see here. Rael, as always, you already know what time it is, bro. Kurd TV from Kurdistan. Did you see that in there? That's interesting. Okay. All right. Well, welcome, man. Iori, Afro SF. What's going on, man? Afro Sci-Fi. Wait a minute. Rael just pulled up here. Rael. And
Yeah, what
Alonzo.
up? Can y'all hear me?
Oh, okay. No, wait, hold on. Williams, he said that that's Sonic. Okay, that's what's up. Hey, what's going on, Sonic? All right, I know who that is. All right, cool. Y'all can hear you, bro. What's going on with you?
Peace, man. Great bill, man. You know, we're probably over probably about 120, 130 years behind when we should probably be 200, 300 years ahead. Um, you know, we have some research coming that's going to be showing how Tuskegee actually had students come from India and China and Japan, the Caribbean and Africa too, and how we were, and this is coming out of a post, slavery environment. We were so well ahead of the time, industrially and technologically. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that many people that were in slavery, many men, came up with many inventions. Um, and so, the science aspect of technological advancing is not something that, when this conversation is talked about, it's bandied about in a way to make it seem like, oh, we have to get into the game for the first time because we've never been in it. Well, that's not true at all.
That's a lie.
That is the absolute,
That's a
from
lie.
car companies to enhancements to the rail system.
I was
Black
gonna
men
say
were a part of that.
locomotion, all that.
Yes, from things
Medical
that
devices.
George Washington Carver, things he was able to put forth, working in concert with Booker T. Washington, which a lot of people really need to understand. Like, George Washington Carver was integral to the development of Tuskegee. I mean, he was an essential component to the flourishing of the Tuskegee machine. And
He was
so,
essentially the CTO, let's just say.
yeah, so we have to really understand that we really dropped the ball collectively because we allowed ourselves to get engaged in too many philosophical conversations instead of focusing on the technological advancement aspect, which is why Garvey wanted to link with Booker T. Washington in the first place, because he wanted to replicate what Booker T. Washington had done in Alabama, at Tuskegee, in Jamaica. And then there's research that shows how when America invaded Haiti, Booker T. Washington wanted to be a part of bringing some of the educational apparatus that he had developed at Tuskegee to Haiti to help the Haitians over there as well. So we're really not, we're just really, um, really just skimming the surface, really, when it comes to that kind of era of time and how much of a foundation was laid by the men of that particular time. Unfortunately, we collectively we dropped the ball, but no greater time than now than to get back on course because we got a lot of places that are really kind of opening up and really open to us coming in and actually sharing some of this knowledge that we have over here. So this was a great build, and I appreciate y'all for doing this, man.
All right, that's what's up, man. And I know Navis had to drop off, man. He had to roll. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down, man. Ryle, I appreciate you for pulling up, man. I saw the comment. You was like, "Nah, y'all need to rock out." I saw it right here, but yeah, I wanted you to just come up, man, and just drop a dime on it real quick, man, before we head on out. So, you know, with that being said, man, um, I'm gonna ask y'all to like hit the like button, man. Share this shit. Subscribe if you haven't. Hopefully you guys kind of caught where we were going with this. It's a follow-up to the initial Afrofuturism live stream that I collaborated with Nameless on, and we're going to keep it pushing from there. If you have not subscribed to his channel, he's linked in the title of this live stream right here. So if you haven't, click that, subscribe to him, and you know you'll get the whole skinny on the political Mandalorian, the political Mandalorianism ideology, because that is a wholly crafted philosophy of the nameless protagonist, and we want to make sure that he gets all his fucking flowers for that. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down. I gotta go run to the restroom myself, and I'm gonna grab a little something to eat because I ain't eaten yet. Hey Rob, I'll hit you up later on, man, if you're around.
All right, I'll be up.
Okay. And DE, shalom to you as well, brother. Shalom.
Peace, D.
All right, y'all. We out. Peace.